Hi, hello, and if you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're a returning visitor, welcome back. In this episode, I set off on day 3 of the cruise and have a slightly dodgy start to the day thanks to the ignition switch. I cruise through a series of very narrow locks, very narrow indeed. I have a close encounter with a bridge which results in a damaged cratch cover and cratch board. There'll be a video about me fixing that later. And I make a real hash of going around a number of corners on the Oxford Canal. If you have any advice about how I should be tackling these corners, please leave a comment below. I need the help. So the story so far, I'm trying to move my narrowboat from the Whilton to the Cropredy Marina, which is a distance of 14 miles as a crow flies. In total it's about 30 miles by narrowboat and some 30 locks. And I'm trying to do this move in 3 days. On day 1 I managed to move from the Whilton Marina to almost Braunston. I was aiming to get to Braunston but missed it by 2 locks. I only managed 4 of the 6 locks in the Braunston flight. But I did do 6 miles, 1 tunnel and 11 locks. On day 2 I completed the 2 locks at Braunston and did a total of 7 miles and 2 locks, finishing the day near Napton on the Hill. So far on this 30 mile 30 lock narrowboat cruise I've completed 13 miles and 13 locks. That means today I have 17 miles and 17 locks to do. Will I make it to my new marina?
Well, start of day 3 of taking the narrowboat down from Whilton Marina down to the Cropredy Marina on the Oxford Canal. Slightly hairy starter this morning, couldn't get the engine to start. Turned out to be the ignition key had worked slightly loose. The mounting for the ignition key had worked slightly loose. So when you turned it, what happened was you were getting it sort of turning itself off, if that makes sense. You turn the key and then the lock would force itself back and turn off, so cutting the supply to the engine. Anyway, figured it out, finally got it working. So we're on our way, just leaving bridge 112 behind us and heading for the Napton flight of locks. Quite a cold and miserable grey day today. First lock of the day, lock number 8 at the bottom of the Napton flight, just past bridge 113. Currently waiting for somebody to come out of the lock before we can go in. Okay, and we go to the first lock of the day, first lock on Napton flight. This is a narrow one, not been in one so narrow as this. Well, that's the first lock of the Napton flight done. Now coming up to the second lock. Now coming up to the second lock on the Napton flight. Morning. Second lock of the day on the Napton flight. Cheers, thanks a lot. And here we go, this is bridge 114 on the Oxford Canal, and we are approaching the third lock of the day. got some helpful advice back there in the last lock from David. Basically, I can let the front of the boat, ride up the protective barrier on the lock gate. I thought CR2 would be against that, but no, apparently that's the way you do it. And if you look at the one coming up, or if you can see the one coming up, you will see that it's got a mark on it from where that's been going on. So this is Napton Lock 10, our third lock of the day. Can't imagine that pillbox coming up here on the left would have survived much in the way of gunfire during the Second World War. It does look to be rather flimsy to me, very flimsy construction. Well, this is our fourth lock of the day. We're doing great, making a lot of headway up the Napton Flight. Still can't believe that pillbox at the last lock. Incredible structure. Stunning views from Napton Lock 11. Absolutely amazing. Beautiful. Okay, we're coming out to bridge 115, and I think this is the last of the Napton locks. Might be wrong on that, might be one more after this. I've already lost count. I keep losing count of how many locks we've been through. Oh no, it looks like there's one more lock after this. Yes, definitely one more lock. I can see it in the distance. And here we are coming up to the last lock on the Napton Flight. And here we are coming up to the last lock on the Napton Flight. Gone quite quickly. This does look like quite a deep lock. Lock number 13. Wow, when the gates opened, releasing the water from the lock, and it came into the pound, it really caught me off guard there. Really pushed the front of the boat around. Quite incredible. Okay, here we go into the last one of the Napton Flight. And there we are in the last lock of the Napton Flight. It's great going up in the locks, particularly when you don't know what the view is going to be and then it suddenly appears. And this one looks like it's going to be a great view. And there we have the view from Napton Lock 13. Okay, here we are leaving what I thought was the last lock at Napton, but I've just looked in the book and there is another one a little way around the corner that's also called a Napton Lock. So, one more to do. And here we are, approaching the last of the Napton locks. Looks like for the first time we're waiting for a lock. Actually, I've got it wrong again. This one is Adkins Lock 14, so it's not a Napton lock. Although the Nicholson guide does refer to it as Napton Adkins Lock 14, so is it a Napton lock or is it not? Who knows? So that's us leaving Adkins Lock. Only one of the paddles was working, so it took forever to fill. Well, that's odd. We've just passed bridge 118 on the Oxford Canal and it's not in the book. Mind you, looking at the state of it, I don't think it's going to be there for much longer, so maybe that's why it's not in the book. Very, very cracked and a large chunk missing off one wall. Well, after I've made several false calls claiming that that was the top of the Napton locks, this is the top lock of Napton coming up now. In fact, it's called Napton Top Lock, so I guess the clue's in the name. And here we go into Napton Top Lock. CRT calls it Marston Doles Lock 15, and yet the book calls it Napton Top Lock. All very confusing. Well, that's the last of the Napton locks completed. Now it's a question on how far we push it today on day 3 of moving the boat from the Whilton Marina down to the one that I'll have just south of the, well, just north of Banbury. How far can I get today? Wow, that was confusing. We're now at Napton Top Lock. The last lock, which I thought was Napton Top Lock, isn't. Napton Top Lock is just after bridge 119 and it's almost hidden in the book. I missed it in the book, I just didn't see it there. So, this is the last lock of the Napton Flight. Or is it? I was getting a little chilly. Temperatures dropped, very grey day today. Well, the boat's coming out of the Napton Top Lock, so I guess we're in there next. Right, and this is it, finally into the Napton Top Lock. Just near bridge 119. Can't believe I missed it in the book. I've looked at that book many, many times, never saw it there. And yet, here it is. Fantastic old cottage at Marston Doles Lock 16, or as I think it's also called, Napton Top Locks. Well, that's us out of Napton Top Lock. And I think I've said that several times before. Very, very tight turn coming out of there. Quite difficult to get around. Got to be quite slow and really push the tiller across to get the travel that you need to get around it. Anyway, how far are we going to get? How much further are we going to go today? Let's see. Wow, just made a complete hash of getting through bridge 122. That is a really tight turn into it and it caught me completely. Actually hit the bridge with quite a wallop. Bad steering on my part. Might have done some significant damage to the cratch cover. I guess I'll find out later once I'm more up and see what's gone on at the front there. That was quite a collision. Newbie boating. It's another one of those pillboxes. I can't imagine they would do much against an invading army as they look so incredibly flimsy. The walls don't seem to have much thickness to them at all. I assume that's what it is a pillbox. Wow, that was a really crazy S-shaped bend just before bridge 124. Absolutely crazy. It's almost impossible to get around. I thought I was going to see myself coming the other way. The bridges on the Oxford Canal are a bit on the tight side. I'm beginning to miss the big bridges that I encountered on the Grand Union. Talk about threading a needle. Really, really tight through some of these. Just encountered another difficult bridge on the Oxford Canal, bridge 125, which you can see just behind me. Absolute stinker, right on the corner again. Very difficult to get around. Very difficult to get around it indeed. Well, here we are coming out to bridge 126 on the Oxford Canal. Let's see if I can make a hash of going through this one. Again, it's a bridge right on a corner. Really seem to like putting their bridges on corners here. Okay. Easy does it, lining up. Again, it's another narrow bridge with a tight bend to the left as you exit it. Actually, this one is not as tight as the earlier bridges, so it's not too bad, but there's still this tight bend as you come out of the bridge. Yet another tight bend coming up. The Oxford Canal really does seem to sort of weave its way across the countryside. This one seems to be curving through a farmyard. Wow. And that doesn't do that one justice. A lot tighter in reality than on the Nicholson map. Incredibly tight bend. I guess that's what you get for having a canal that's following the contours. Wow, yet another incredibly tight bend, this time with a family of at least 5-6 swans. Good, I'm going to have to do a bit of reversing on this one, try and bring it around. Phenomenally tight bends. If you know what I'm doing wrong with these, let me know in the comments, because I'm just finding them incredibly challenging and difficult to get around, almost impossible. I mean, this one is absolute hairpin of a bend, quite incredible. I doubt if the image on the camera really does it justice, and now it seems to be being followed by an equally sharp one to my left. Is it better to take a wide line with them, or should I be sort of trying to cut the corner? As I say, let me know in the comments as to how I really should be tackling these particular type of bends. I'm finding them really quite challenging. Yeah, that bend, absolutely phenomenal. Went right back on itself. Incredible. One of the lock keepers at one of the locks we went through earlier this morning said that the Oxford Canal was going to be closed for part of the summer because of work on the HS2. I guess this is the HS2 site. Okay, so I've just made another hash of going around a really tight bend near the HS2 site on the Oxford Canal. There's clearly something I'm doing wrong here. I've got a 57 narrowboat. I should be able to get it around the corner without having to use reverse and throw it all over the canal. If you've got any advice or help, please let me know in the comments how I should be tackling these very tight corners of a 57-foot narrowboat on the Oxford Canal. Right, this on the map looks like an impossible bend with bridge 131 on it. I've already encountered 2 boats going into this bend. The last guy assured me that there was nothing behind him. Here we go. I think I left that a little too late again. Yes, I did. Yep, do a correction there. Coming around. On the map, this is an incredibly tight bend, and the bridge is right on the apex of the bend. It makes it really difficult. I've no idea why I'm struggling so much with these bridges on this canal. The boat really seems to dig in. I don't know if it's because the canal is very shallow, but I do seem to have lost a little bit of the control that I had earlier on the boat. Doesn't seem quite so responsive. Well, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So this is bridge 131. Got a whopping great big crack in it. I don't think I've seen any bridges on the Oxford Canal yet that are not in need of repair. Well, apart from the HS2 bridge they're just putting in. That looks fantastic. Okay, so under bridge 131, and then we've got a sharp left coming out of this. Hope I can get around a boat moored just where I would want a boat to be moored. Right, hard over. Coming around. I think I am through that. That was a tough bridge. 131 on the Oxford Canal. Wow. Just where you don't want a bridge, right on a tight bend like that. So that's cruising for day 3 finished. And we've reached Fenny Compton, which I'm really pleased about. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see a link to the next video on the screen now, and also if you scan the QR link, you can see that will take you through to the newsletter for these videos. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.